I was I'm born with cerebral palsy, which most noticeably manifests itself in a severe stutter. I am a widowed young mother with 4 children. Tristan is 9, Jade is 6, Ulysses is 4, and Fiona's 2. My kids are spending the night with their grandmother. The first time I realized that cannabis helped me was the first time I smoked it. I smoked to be the mother my children deserve, because they're really cool kids.
You doing it right here? Have a nice night.
Thanks, you too.
How much did he just give you?
Not even $8. After about the 3rd hit is when I began to feel the tension dissipate. It really helps my speech. I feel much calmer, much less rushed, and I feel like I can control the muscles that I couldn't control before I smoked.
On December 16th, U.S. Armed Forces invade Panama and bring to an end the 7-year dictatorship of Manuel Antonio Noriega.
I was in battle. Probably the hottest situation was the capturing of Noriega in Panama. The Marines went in. 9 men lost that day. It's something that you don't want to witness. It's horrible. That is part of my post-traumatic stress. When I was 7, I had a very traumatic incident happen to me. Me and my sister actually in a restaurant down off DeSoto Avenue in LA, California. My dad was a mob investigator for the LA County Sheriff's Department, and my mom worked as a secretary for Litton Industries. My mom and my dad had been separated partially because my father had a bad pill and alcohol problem. So we got together to kind of discuss the divorce, and also me and my sister have birthdays that are close, so we figured we'd celebrate me and my sister's birthday, and my parents would talk about the divorce, so we got together in this restaurant. When my dad got off duty, popped a bunch of pills, met us at the restaurant, an argument ensued. He stood up, no hesitation, pulled out his service revolver, stuck it right on her forehead, and that was the last anybody was to see of her head. Her head ended up all over me and my sister. I've had a horrible life. The saving factor was that I found pot. It saved me, saved my life. My nightmares were gone. I had no recollection of any vivid details of a lot of the horrible trauma I've suffered in my life. And it wasn't brain surgery. I knew it was the pot.
We were arrested in August of 1975 for growing 4 marijuana plants on our sun deck in Washington, D.C. The federal government was already conducting research on marijuana as a possible glaucoma treatment.
We welcome to Larry King Live Bob Randall, the first American ever to gain legal access to marijuana because of his glaucoma condition. Why are you allowed to use these, Robert?
I have a disease called glaucoma, and marijuana at this point is the only drug that will help prolong my sight.
You could smoke it now legally, couldn't you?
Sure.
Do it for me.
Okay.
Yes. This is a first. I want you to know, Larry.
I spent 27 years with Bob Randall, and 25 of those years he was using 10 marijuana cigarettes a day. I can assure you he was not a stoner.
I think the only thing surprising here is that a small group of unelected bureaucrats have so long resisted making marijuana medically available. Essentially, it comes down to almost a theologic argument. They want to pretend that marijuana is simply evil, and I think we have to be more rational than that. We have to realize that marijuana has good and bad uses.
Told at 25 that he would be blind by the time he was 30, marijuana made the critical difference, and Bob could see up until the time of his death in 2001.
My oldest son, Danny, was diagnosed with acute lymphocytic leukemia. He had to get cancer chemotherapeutic drugs, which he just hated it because he'd vomit, he was nauseous, he'd come home here and he'd lie for 8 hours in a bed with a bucket. My wife said to me, "Shouldn't we get Danny some marijuana?" And I said, "No, we can't do that. It's against the law." My wife protested that I objected to that. And the next time he had therapy, I went into the treatment room, and they were laughing. They were having jokes. And she told me that Danny had smoked marijuana outside in the parking lot. It was just amazing to us. He not only didn't get nausea, he got off the table, and he said, looked up at his mother and said, "Hey, can we stop for a sub sandwich on the way home?" And from that time on, until his death, he never had to deal with the nausea and vomiting. And I thought, my goodness, we've got to find a way to let people like my son and like these other people who have found this useful as a medicine, something which diminishes their suffering. We've got to find a way to make it available.
But you heard the doc. He said you're nervous. You ought to try something.
Total, if you wanted the weed, why didn't